But I've had more funny things happen than the bad things that happened. But,
and the bad things became good things over the years. They do. They become fond memories.
There were two instances where I really got something in my throat. We did that Chefoo mission, and you try to hide everything when you're going on one of those missions, and they know all about it before you ever left on your trip. And they didn't have any maps of Chefoo, China, it's up northeast China, but they had a big harbor because they kept pushing it on further north up there to get across Korea. And there were 6 planes, 2 from our squadron, Dodson and us. And 124 had 2 planes, 6 planes.
Out of our room.
Before we got out of sight of Okinawa, we didn't have but 3 planes. Our 2 planes and 1 other. And one of the others, the senior officer in there, was the leader of the flight. It got down to where Dodson ended up with it. But they had planned that we were going to come inland, follow some stream up the east coast of China, just inland, and then come back, and it was supposed to be a surprise to make a U-turn over this little town of Chefoo and hit that harbor and then go right on back out to sea. Well, they lined up and we were going to go 6 planes across. We had the inside track right next to the beach. That little town was built right up to the beach, and they had some warehouses. Had some 4-story buildings. Well, it ended up with those 3 planes. It was Duba and Dodson and this other guy. Rather than come in after all these other guys dropped out and go in all together, he was way on the outside position, and he stayed out there. Well, Dodson and us got shot up. In fact, somebody was watching, and they were firing out of the 4-story window down on us. We were right down on the deck, and we almost made it across, and bam! Something hit us like a sledgehammer, and the plane was vibrating, and I wasn't in a turret, but I was trying to see what happened, and I guess it was sort of in a stall, and I stood up in that little dome there, and I could see out, and the aileron was sitting on the starboard aileron, just sitting up there flapping.
Loose.
And the other one was sticking straight up on the left, and looked, and Duba had the wheel all the way to the left, and we were going to the right. And Reynolds, or I don't know who, but I looked up, and number 3 engine started to feather. I said, oh God, we don't need that. Hi.
Hi. I'm Doug in Banquets. I'll be with you tonight. I didn't mean to interrupt. I'm going to come clean you up.
And I looked up, and he still had his hand on the feather, but I hit his arm and knocked it down and restarted that engine. I said, we need that power. And we finally got it straightened up, but every once in a while it started singing. It was just we flew back with just a rudder and trying to keep it level. And then when we came back, you know, you had to come over some rocky mountains, and it's always a little bouncy coming over. And I told Duba, I said, we need to go into Hiroshima if we make it. And there was a PBM followed us on the way back. And we landed on Hiroshima. I thought maybe that tire had been hit, because that's where the shell hit, right under that wing. It blew a big hole in the wing, cut the cable to that just hoping we don't do somersaults when we land on 2 wheels. But we landed all right, made it all right. Then I got out and I was inspecting the damage under there to see what it was. Of course, there's a big hole there and that cable was hanging down. I was looking around and I saw a bolt that went through the landing gear. I saw the head of the bolt. I looked on the other side and there wasn't a nut on the other side. It was just sheared off, even with the metal there. And I reached over and I took 2 fingers and pulled that thing out. And it stayed in there through all that vibration and the landing and all. I got that in my war room at home now. Then I grounded the plane after they repaired it. And the engineering officer
Wouldn't release it.
He told Duba, said, that plane's ready to go. He said, well, my plane captain grounded it. He says, it's better than it was when it was new. Well, all they did was just patch under the wing.
Yeah.
And I told Duba, I said, you tell them, you do whatever you want to do, just tell them that I grounded the plane. He said, if you grounded it, it's grounded. So we did. But then I was down at the plane one time, we getting some stuff out of it, and I heard some voices outside. These 2 officers were out there looking at it. One of them said, that's just as good as new. Said, looking at him and all that. And he said, well, who grounded this thing? And I said, I did. And he started explaining. I said, well, if you think it's good, you fly it. I said, I was in the thing and I know what it went through, and I know you didn't do any repairs in that wing spar. You put some thin metal under there and riveted it back up to cover up that hole. I said, I'll fly it, but I won't fly it in combat. Because I know what the plane went through.
Yeah.
And it stayed that way. And it even shows in all these books that I've got, it shows the planes that were destroyed and the planes that were surveyed.
Yeah.
And it was. We didn't fly it anymore. And we left it on open up. But then, after the showing it in the history book that it was surveyed and they thought got away with.
Yeah.
Recently I got that book I was telling you about, and it shows it in the States. It's a picture of it in the States that they had painted something on that. My dad's on this said it's all over, flying home. Somebody else flew it back to the States. And I would have done that, but I
Just no stress, yeah. Well, I'm gonna go up and rest.
I'm through.